So today I wanted to do a follow-up on my last video about Colleen Ballinger around the new developments that have been happening, especially around, number one, the cease and desist letters that some big YouTube channels have received allegedly from Colleen's team. The conspiracy is that Colleen Ballinger made her response video, let's not call it an apology video anymore, as a song on purpose so that she could upload it to Apple Music or CD Baby and then be able to copyright claim people's videos and then to monetize those videos. That sounds like some mad scientist maneuvering there. Number two, I would also like to cover the morals clause because so many of you were interested in it from my last video, and I wanted to break down the details around the morals clause, when it's actually executed, meaning when do companies actually terminate influencers, athletes, actors from their deals. And lastly, number three, I wanted to talk about, could there be potential civil lawsuits filed against Colleen Ballinger? As far as we know, no victims have gone to the police for criminal charges, but this is an ongoing story and that development could change. And honestly, that video that she made probably gave the police more to work with than if she had just stayed quiet. Remember, everything can be used against you in a court of law. So just because criminal charges are not filed doesn't mean that civil lawsuits cannot be filed. Sometimes both can be filed. Remember the O.J. Simpson case? And before I forget, let me state that although I am a licensed attorney in California, having practiced law in Hollywood for the last 15 years, I do not represent any of the parties involved. I do not represent Colleen Ballinger or any of her victims. Let's dive into this cease and desist drama that's happening right now. What is really going on? Did Colleen make her response video as a song so she can upload it on Apple Music or CD Baby so that she could therefore place copyright claims on response videos and monetize it? In her song, she states that everyone is monetizing her demise, but realize that her video sits at 12 million views right now, which is probably making her anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000, which is why I said if you want to watch the video, go watch it on Adam McIntyre's channel because he is her victim here. Let's make sure that he makes money from this. So there's a lot of misinformation and lack of clarity as to what is really happening because some channels stated that they received a copyright claim from Colleen Ballinger and then some of these claims quickly went away. There were people who saw the song uploaded to CD Baby as well as Apple Music, but that also quickly went away. At this point, the only copyright claim that seems to have stayed is the one against Ethan Klein for the H3 podcast. And that's a very interesting situation because the cease and desist letter there went to a fan channel called Ethan's Basement. So it's really surprising to me and actually boggles my mind that an attorney would get the wrong address for Ethan Klein. I think it's pretty easy to figure out a fan channel versus the main channel or the email for the person they're trying to serve a cease and desist letter on. So the story is that this lawyer who represents Colleen, and I haven't seen a copy of this letter yet, apparently released a statement to Philip DeFranco's team about the situation. So this lawyer, Andrew Brettler, has a very famous client list. They consist of Prince Andrew, Danny Masterson, Armie Hammer, Bryan Singer, Chris Noth, and potentially Bill Cosby. And what do all these very famous and powerful men have in common? Well, they've been accused and found guilty of sexual harassment, sexual misconduct, and some of them rape. And what's really fascinating about this lawyer that Colleen hired to defend her, he's big guns because Brettler was trained in the battlegrounds of Marty Singer, who's probably the most famous Hollywood litigator. And here is a list of some of his clients. So this lawyer came out and refuted the Blackface allegation that came out a couple of weeks ago. And in that statement, Andrew Brettler refuted the fact that Colleen Ballinger was wearing blackface when she sang the Beyonce Single Ladies song, because what he stated was that the song right before Single Ladies was a Wicked song, so Colleen actually had green paint on. So from afar, it looks like blackface, but it's just this whole controversy around Colleen seems so multi-layered and never ending. So stay with me here. The letter that went to Ethan Klein apparently was to clarify that the copyright claim allegations where Ethan stated that he received a copyright claim from Colleen was false. So the lawyer wanted Ethan to retract and correct that statement that she has not monetized this song in any way. The lawyer states that he has no idea who published the song and who is issuing the copyright infringement claims. So it's unclear if someone hacked these different publishers and uploaded her song and then issued the copyright claims. It's possible, but it looks like these claims were made from Colleen's main account. I'm not a tech person. I don't know how this works. If you know, comment below. But I guess somebody maybe hacked her, or is it possible that maybe she did it and her team caught her and told her this is a bad idea, please stop, or someone on her team did it on her behalf? I don't know. But when they saw the backlash coming, they wanted it stopped because this is just a dumpster of a situation right now. And realize that this letter wasn't asking Ethan to stop talking about any of the grooming or misconduct that Colleen is accused of against her fans. It was just about the copyright claims. So if you're new here, I'm Tyler Chou. I've been an attorney in Hollywood for 15 years, and I have now pivoted my practice to protect creators with my own law firm. And I want to tell you, if you're a creator and you receive a cease and desist letter or a copyright on your channel, here's what you should do. Number one, do not panic. And second of all, realize that just because somebody sent you a cease and desist letter doesn't mean that you have to comply with it. The other side is claiming rights that they may or may not have. So if you're a creator, please don't go make a response video like Colleen did. So what is a cease and desist letter? A cease and desist letter is a letter sent to an alleged wrongdoer describing the alleged misconduct and demanding that the alleged misconduct be stopped. A cease and desist letter basically provides notice that a legal action could be taken if the conduct doesn't cease. Such letters are usually written by attorneys and are often sent to stop the alleged or actual infringement of intellectual property rights such as copyrights, trademarks, and patents. Even though cease and desist letters are non-binding and does not have a legal effect, it's primarily sent to the wrongdoer so that it may later be used as evidence in litigation against the wrongdoer if the alleged misconduct is not stopped. I'm currently helping a client respond to a cease and desist letter now regarding a song that he covered, and he wanted to immediately record his response video, but I've asked him not to, and he has gracefully and graciously agreed to wait until we settle the situation before he makes his video, because as YouTubers, we have an immediate urge and a duty to respond to our community when something happens or allegations are made. My client is Andy Morris. You probably know him. His videos are all over YouTube right now, and he's a breathtakingly brilliant pianist, and his playing of Golden Hour will give you goosebumps. So what do you do if you get a copyright claim? Sometimes nothing. Most of the time, if you are covering a song, music publishers will automatically put a claim for revenue share, and everybody goes their merry way. Ethan Klein showed the copyright claim that supposedly Colleen Ballinger put on his account, and it shows a rev share. This is not the same as a copyright strike. A legal strike means that the content owner has issued a legal takedown order, and that strike stays on your account for 90 days, even if you deleted the content that initiated the strike in the first place. If you want to know more about copyright claims and strikes, comment copyright claim below, because otherwise this video is going to be 30 minutes. And remember, if you do get a copyright claim or a strike, you might have a fair use defense, which simply means fair use is any copying of copyrighted material done for a limited and transformative purpose, such as to comment, criticize, or make a parody of a copyrighted work, which it certainly would qualify here.
The song that we made was a parody of her original songs.
Now, some of you might ask if Colleen did something wrong here, if she was the one who uploaded the song to CD Baby in Apple Music and then issued the copyright claim. Technically, no. She wrote an original song, she owns the rights to it, and if somebody uses it, she could ask that person who uses her song in their videos to take it down or claim revenue from it. Their fair use defense might defeat her takedown request, but she can always claim the monetization from the response videos. So even though she didn't do anything wrong per se, other than make an awful situation a billion times worse, by showing potentially how greedy she might be, realize that a lot of YouTube apology videos in history turn off their monetizations because apology videos typically make a lot of money. So number two, this is the portion of the party everybody came for, which is the morals clause. As I mentioned in my first video, Colleen probably lost her brand deals because these brand agreements had a morals clause in it that stated something to the following effect. I'm going to show it here, but I'm not going to read it again because I read it in my last video. But basically, it's a provision that allows a company to terminate talent, whether it be an actor, an athlete, or here an influencer or creator, from the services agreement. And this means that the talent cannot act in such a way that they would make the company look bad. I didn't include this last time, but sometimes in these talent agreements, there's language that states that if talent abuses drugs, whether it be legal or illegal, or alcohol, or shows disorderly conduct or inappropriate behavior in public, then it's grounds for immediate dismissal. Some very high-level actor agreements has an exclusion for personal, political, and philosophical opinions, which I've given to very, very high-level actors. Most actors don't get it. So Colleen's live shows did get canceled. In my last video, they hadn't been canceled yet, but she had a handful of shows left in her tour. Basically, everything starting in July and after was canceled. If you click on each location, then you see the cancel notice. Remember, she released her video on June 30th. So after that point, all of these venues canceled her shows. And I'm sure that these venues had a morals clause in their performance agreements because realize that performers, like musicians, tend to have a lot of morals issues. And because of these big celebrity scandals, where it usually paints them in a bad light, all companies now have these morals clause provisions in their agreements to protect them. So one of you in the comments asked this really smart question. Can the talent ask for the morals clause to go the other way to protect them against companies? Then the answer is usually no. The morals clause is usually unilaterally protective of the company. I recently read about an influencer who was bound to a brand deal after finding out that the brand did some shady things. And as hard as she tried, she could not get out of being associated with that brand because her name and likeness was owned by the brand. And that's always the issue with brand deals. So always get a lawyer to read your brand deals. And this is really tough because remember FTX? It dragged down a whole bunch of influencers with them. So if I was representing a creator, I would ask for the morals clause to go both ways, as I always do for the indemnity clause, and typically I'm able to get that. However, whether this will be successful or not depends on two things. One, how hard is my client willing to push this because it has a chance of jeopardizing the brand? And it depends on your stature, meaning how big of a creator are you and how many subs do you have, because that's how it normally works in Hollywood. If you ask for a very high level request, it usually works if your client is a very big star because you have a much better chance of winning that fight. Okay, I've officially ran out of time because this video is so long, and I don't like making videos that are too long because people never finish them. Maybe I'll make a part 3 of this, and perhaps I think it's appropriate because it's an ongoing story. If you want part 3, write part 3 in the comments. And when I come back, I can discuss whether or not any charges will be brought against Colleen in a criminal or civil lawsuit, which will largely depend on the facts that will come out in the upcoming days. I can also do a deep dive on the difference of a criminal versus a civil lawsuit. Like in the O.J. Simpson trial, how could he be acquitted for the crime of murder but be found liable in a civil lawsuit for wrongful death? For now, I will say this about Colleen and whether or not she will get sued in civil court, because I don't want to leave you guys hanging. Maybe she'll get sued. I got the sense from how actively Adam is talking about lawyers, not his own, but about lawyers on YouTube, that maybe he has his own lawyers, and honestly, he should. The bottom line is plaintiffs have a much better chance finding justice in civil court because the burden of proof is lower. The burden of proof in a civil lawsuit is the preponderance of evidence, not beyond a reasonable doubt like in criminal cases. To give a visual of this, the scales of justice only need to tip slightly in favor of the survivor. In California, only 9 of the 12 jurors have to agree. In criminal cases, it has to be unanimous, or all 12 jurors. In a criminal case, the goal is to punish the defendant of the child abuse, but the goal of a civil trial is to help the victim receive compensation for their mental and physical injuries, and to receive the support to find healing and to be made whole again. But of course, nothing could really make a child whole from child abuse, especially if it's sexual in nature. I think criminal charges are hard to anticipate or guess at this point, but it's possible it's happening behind the scenes and being sealed to protect the identity of the children. Or if they're adults, maybe they don't want to press criminal charges, but what they could do is file civil lawsuits. Remember, Colleen Ballinger hired Brettler, who is a civil litigator, not a criminal defense attorney, although his partner, Blair Burke, co-founder of their new law firm, is a criminal defense attorney, and they shared Armie Hammer as co-counsels. Criminal charges might be hard if there isn't evidence of physical abuse, and I know there isn't evidence of it, at least from what the public has heard. But realize this, since most people think that Colleen did allegedly groom her underage fans in her chat group with her inappropriate sexual questions, grooming actually consists of 6 stages. And the first 4 stages are the preparation of the child, which is called grooming, before stage 5 and 6, where the actual physical sexual abuse happens. Honestly, it makes me so sick as a mom to have to describe and talk about this, but if this can help someone, like a child, a victim, or a family member, to recognize that grooming might be happening to their child by a relative or a family friend, then that's all that matters. I've worked in a women's shelter for over 10 years as a volunteer attorney, helping victims of domestic violence leave their abusers. So this type of advocacy is very, very near and dear to my heart. My heart really goes out to the victims here. Since my video came out, many of you in the comments mentioned so many more awful aspects of Colleen Ballinger and her character Miranda Sings, like details in her book, which I cannot even believe was published and is catered to kids, and the other things that she does in her live shows. I wanted to make my videos as a way of helping those who might have been harmed by Colleen or others like her. I'm really glad that people are finally believing Adam and that he's finally able to have his say and to be respected and believed, because 3 years ago he was not believed, and it's alleged that Colleen actually made her fans turn on him. So I'm Tyler Chou, and I hope this video was helpful to you. I will come back with a part 3 if you guys are interested. If you didn't catch my last video where I went into the whole Colleen Ballinger situation and I broke down whether or not she would lose fans, brand deals, and what would happen in terms of whether or not she would get arrested and go to jail, make sure to catch it there. Remember, we were born perfect and we forget. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.